Hello, everybody. Hey, it is springtime. That's why I have my Paris hat on. Paris in springtime. And, that also means that it's March Madness. Welcome, you guys, to the Her Hoop Stats Podcast Network. I am Christy Winter Scott, joined by my girl. She always keeps me in check. And
Hey,
another
hey.
reason why I have this hat on, but we'll talk about it. Helen Williams. Hey, girl. Hey.
Hey,
Great
girl.
seeing you.
Hey.
It is March,
Great seeing
baby.
you.
It is
This
March.
is
Great to
my
see you.
favorite time of the year. I've already blocked off. I'm supposed to be working at my job that pays the bills. I will not be there because I'll be watching a lot of
Yes,
basketball.
we'll be
A
watching.
lot of
We'll be
basketball.
tuned in. We will be tuned in. I know you said you are going to be down at the ACC tournament. Tell everybody all the details about that one.
Yes. Well, before I do that,
Oh,
I have to give your cousin, Vanessa Blair-Lewis, her flowers for
let's
winning the
go.
regular season for George Mason's regular season for the
Again.
18, first time ever for
Yeah.
George Mason.
How about
Incredible
that?
coach, incredible person. I'm just gonna say this.
Talk to
Power
me.
four schools, you should be looking at this woman. If you
How
want
about that?
somebody who knows what she's doing, who cares about her kids, who is a winner, there's only like 3 jobs open right now, but y'all need to look at Vanessa Blair-Lewis. That's all I have to say. Before we
Yeah.
even start anything, I just,
Yeah.
gotta give your cousin congrats.
I love it. Off the top of the dome. That is my twin, even though we're cousins. People think we're sisters or whatever. Like they call us one another. Like they say, hey, Vanessa. And at this point, I'm just like, hey, y'all. I just say hey back. And she says the same when people say Christy and like, hey, girl. So that's just how it goes. But I am beyond proud of my cousin, Vanessa Blair-Lewis, over there at George Mason University. And you know what? You said all of the things, right? Tactically sound. She cares about her kids, but she leads with faith, Helen. And I think, and not that you're pushing that onto people who may not have the same kind of firepower on the inside. But I'm going to tell you what, she understands the assignment of building character out of her players and with her players. And it's just a thing of beauty. I was in their locker room before the season started, and I don't think media training is kind of just letting them be organically themselves. And
Right.
I don't even know if that's media training, but I think the more you are yourself, the more you permit other people to do the same thing. And I think that is what Vanessa has done at George Mason and everywhere else. She has stepped her 10 toes. Listen, when she was at Bethune-Cookman, Coach of the Year. And now I saw recently, she's the longest tenured Black woman in
27 years.
division. Yes. How about that? So not only the A10 regular season champs, the Patriots rocking out, but also the longest tenured Black woman on the sidelines in D1. Go ahead, girl. I'm so proud of her. I always give her the biggest hug, but the next time I see you, I'm going to hug you till you pop. That's just mark that down. That's what we're doing.
There you go. And she better be on the coaches list for Coach of the Year for mid majors. She better
I don't
be.
I don't understand why not. I don't you have to at this point you have to tell me why she shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Because I think she's definitely earned it with her team. Graduated a lot of kids, man, and lost some to transfer, but they brought in players and they meshed and they were able to just continue to ride the wave that they created last year. So it's just really fun to see. But you know what that comes down to? Culture. And she has that for sure. But a lot of teams right now are going to be leaning into that culture,
Yeah.
right? Because listen, we've got some stuff going on for March Madness. Power Fours and everybody else are gearing up to, shake some things and get some things moving. And I know at the ACC tournament, that's where we were about to start. You're going to be down there at that. And I mean, Duke was rocking and rolling for a minute there and then hit a couple speed bumps coming into the ACC tournament. I love what Carol Lawson has been able to do, obviously, out of the gates a little slow. 3-6 at one point in the season, but turned that thing around. Won 17 in a row, I believe. And, hit a little patch here. But what do you see with the ACC tournament with Duke winning the regular season there, but headed into the ACC tournament down there?
Yeah, I listened to all the press conferences yesterday, and all the coaches were, pretty much the same thing. Hey, we're happy to be here. We're ready to go. But I love Carol Lawson because she's old school,
She
and
is.
she's old school. And this is always a pet peeve of mine when I do games. And Angel Gray used to make fun of me because I'm just like the crotchety old get off my lawn guy. But I think you should wear the same color socks, the same color shoes. Everybody should be dressed alike
I
because
like
you're
it.
a team. There shouldn't be a look at me anywhere. And she always used to make fun of me, but I will die on that hill. And Carol Austin is like that. When you talk about culture,
Yes,
those kids are locked into the way, and that could be just from her days with Pat Summit.
absolutely.
But those kids are locked in. And I liked yesterday they asked her if she had talked to them about defending the ACC title. And she just laughed. She goes, I'm just, we need to start defending ball screens and defending drives to the basket. That's the only defending that I've been talking about.
Noted.
But yeah, they, considering how they started, very impressed with how they finished and, winning the
Yes.
whole thing. And
Yeah.
they're obviously going to be the favorite, but there's so many teams I think that have the ability to get to the finals. I want to give kudos to Notre Dame, to Neil Ivy.
Yeah, that's my
Yeah,
girl.
they got to 20 wins. I
Yeah.
honestly didn't think that they would get there, but that staff needs to have. You need to give them credit
Yeah.
for putting. Obviously, you haven't had Hidalgo, but for putting players in the right place to be successful at what they do best. I cannot overemphasize that. There obviously, I don't think as much talent as it was last year, but
No.
they rang every bit of talent of all
Yeah.
those kids that they played, got everything out of them. So they're a scary team. I think Clemson. I told you they wouldn't finish 11th. They finished
You did
ninth.
say.
So thank you, Coach Sean Poppy. I
You
was
did
10
say.
toes down for you for the whole year. So that Syracuse, those are two teams that I think especially Syracuse. You just don't know.
Right.
They can surprise some people. So they're playing each other. So only one of them can get in there. But Carolina's playing well. NC State figured out how to finish fourth. So there's like a lot of teams that can get in the finals. I'm still a big fan of Louisville. So
Right.
we'll see what happens with Louisville and Duke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's been incredible to watch, the ACC and the ebbs and flows. And that's what happens in great power conferences, right? You get to conference play and everyone beats down on one another.
Yeah, they
So
beat
it's
each other.
what'd you say?
I said they beat the heck out of each other every night. It's tough.
Yeah. I mean, it's survival of the fittest, right? And people think, yes, obviously you need to be healthy. Okay. That's one thing, but you can't control that. But what you can control, survival of the fittest is not just physical. Okay. Survival of the fittest is your mental coming into postseason play. Okay. And, I remember, you know, telling kids, hey, don't get on the bus if you don't think we're going to win this game. Like, that's the mentality. Like, we're not even entertaining anything other than winning. And that's why it hurts so bad when you lose because I think that's how I was set up as a player. Like I'm not going in this game thinking, what if we lose? Like I'm not even putting that out here. Like for me, it was like we are flat out winning. And if we didn't win, it was so crushing to me because I had set my standard here mentally. So I think it's survival of the fittest when it comes to your mentality coming in to compete in March because it is unmatched, it is unforgiving, it does not care if you
Different.
have
It's different.
injuries. Yeah, they don't care. Like, there's no small violin playing. Like, well, we lost two kids to injury in our starting lineup. Oh well. Like, what are you going to do about it? I'm so solution based with things. So it's like, okay, those are issues, but then we can't stay there. Like, it's a life lesson. Like, those are issues, and that's going to slow us down. It may not be our strongest punch, but that just means we have to elevate, right? And do what we have to do. But it's all about your mental at this point, right?
Yeah, just take care of your mentals, just like Marshawn Lynch said. You gotta be ready to go. And there's something special about the postseason though, because even if you're, conference tournament, even if you're
Right.
the last team that got in, you still have a chance.
Hmm.
You know what's going to happen. You still have a chance. You have one more opportunity to show what you can do, and it's so fun to watch postseason tournaments.
No, it is. And the thing about that is, Helen, and you know this too, right? It's like, when you're a senior, there's just this unwritten emotion of hunger and just I don't know, like you can
Sense of urgency.
it's an innate competitiveness that you can't tell a freshman, sophomore, or junior what it is. All you
Right.
can do is show it. So I'm excited to see what these seniors are going to come out and do, especially in the ACC. And with that being said, which seniors show, like you said, the sense of urgency towards the end of the year, and what kind of motivation and momentum will they have going into the tournament here?
Yeah, I mean, I can't just pick out one. I think they are all there's a sense of urgency for all of them. Right? This could literally be your last game of your career. So the I think the emotional piece for them is, how can I convey this sense of urgency to my teammates who are not seniors, especially if, let's say, you're somebody that does not get a lot of time, but
Right.
how can take that leadership and tell a freshman who starts, like, yo, you gotta this is it, like, you gotta play hard, you have to do everything that you're supposed, otherwise I'm going home. So
Right.
being able to convey that sense of urgency to the younger players, I think, is the biggest challenge for any of the seniors.
Yeah, no doubt. And sometimes it's not even verbiage, right? It's not your vocality. It's your example. It's how hard you're playing. Like, are you going to go after that basketball that's flying out of bounds, or you're just going to be like, oh well, we'll get the next one. Like, there, you can always tell too. Like, people think you can't tell. Like, I can always tell fake hustle, right? I'm like, just get my hand there, look like I'm doing something. You're not doing it, right? Dive on the floor and you go get it, and it doesn't have to be something that's instructed. That's something that's a want to thing, and I think
Yeah.
that's the beauty of March. And I think when you're looking at the ACC, I mean, there's a lot of want to in the last couple of weeks. We're talking about beating
Yes.
up on one another. What game stood out to you as kind of like an appetizer of what we may see in the tournament in the ACC?
Um, the Notre Dame Louisville game that went down to the wire before Hannah Hidalgo uh, got that steal at the end of the game. That kid,
A
first of all,
dog.
she weighs like 2 pounds, but she is a dog. Like,
Cheers.
she is a dog, and she
Yeah,
will do
flat out.
whatever she has to do to win. And that's the kind of thing that we're talking about. That
Mhm.
game. And here's the thing with Louisville: they've lost 3 games that were within one possession.
Okay.
So they're due. I mean, they have the talent, they have the depth, they've got the coaching, they're fairly healthy.
Yeah.
They do defend, and Jeff Wall said yesterday in the press conference that they haven't been playing that bad, but
Mhm.
executing on those last plays. So that kind of game that went down to the wire, that was one of the good games for me this past weekend.
Yeah, no question. And, when you're looking at teams like Carolina, who, like you said, have gained some momentum down the stretch here out of the stables and like running through the tape. And then NC State, like you said as well. What have you seen from those two teams? And how do you prognosticate what their tournament run could look like, ACC and NCAA?
Yeah, I think NC State, I think they gave their coach a lot of gray hairs this year.
Poor
Because
West, man.
I mean, there were huge expectations, right?
Yeah,
Sometimes they met them, sometimes they didn't, but
right.
somehow they figured out how to finish fourth in the league. So I think that says a lot about them, the coaching staff as well. So they're always going to be dangerous. And Carolina was just up and down. Some of that was injury, but they're also, which team's going to show up? The one that defends and rebounds, or the one that doesn't? So it'll
Right.
be interesting to see. We can say all day, it could be chalk, and Duke's going to get to the finals and win, but whoever wins this is going to be ready for the NCAA tournament for sure. You just hope that all of the teams come out where everybody's healthy and ready to compete. Because I think there's going to be like 7 or 8 teams probably right
Easy.
now. Um,
Easy.
that are going to get bids. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. I would like to say I know for sure Carolina's going to do this. I know for sure NC State's going to do that. I know for sure Duke's going to do this. But that's the beauty of postseason. I mean, you have an
Yeah.
idea as a coach. You know, you're looking at things, you're looking
Yeah.
at stats, metrics, and everything. But you cannot measure heart. You cannot
Nope.
measure luck,
Nope.
right? So
Health. Yeah. All the
yeah,
things. And when you're thinking about that, I know, I've been around basketball a long time now. Same with you, right? And people say all the time, like postseason, it's about matchups, right? It's about guard play and matchups. Now, I don't know if you can still say that, right? Can you still say not necessarily about the matchups because I do think there's something to that. But what about guard play? Because the guard position has changed so much. Like the traditional point guards are few and far between, right? Everyone's like a hybrid or something like that. So, how much of the perimeter play will play in to what goes down in the ACC and beyond, like in the NCAA tournament as well in other conferences? But has that changed, or are we still talking about the game the same way in postseason? It's all about the matchups. It's also all about guard play and how they can create the pace necessary for the game, defensively and offensively.
yeah. I think it's always going to be about guard play because they have the ball in their hands the most, right? You can have a
So
great post player like Lauren Betts, but she can't pass the ball to herself.
that part,
Um, so if you want to if you have an advantage in the post, it still depends on your guards.
yeah.
Somebody's got to get them the basketball. Somebody's got to break the press. So I think it's
Mhm.
always going to be about the guards on both ends of the floor.
Mhm.
You want to say in terms of the matchups, yeah, that might be a little bit more about the posts, like in terms of who, what, when, and where.
Okay.
But either way, as a coach, you got to play chess. You can't play checkers. So
Have to.
I do think it's always going to be about the guards because they have the ball in their hands all the time.
Right. Yeah, no question. And I think, defensively too, I think, they can put a stranglehold on opponents if they bring the smoke on the defensive side and control the pace. People think, oh, you think pace control is all about, okay, get it and go, get the outlet and push middle. But it's not just that, right? You can lock down defensively, blitz and rotate and get your steals so you can go and score easily. So I think it is predicated a lot on the guards, whether or not they are locked in on the defensive end as much as they are on the offensive side. And I think it's going to come down to who can be the best two-way guards, like which
Yeah.
players across the country bring all of the focus and effort and intentionality on both sides. And that's how you control the pace. And I think, for the Big East, I know UConn, I mean, they were a couple games ago holding teams to 50 points a game. I mean, that's their defense. And yes, you can say, Sarah Williams, who was Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year in 2024, transferred from Wisconsin. She's down in there. She's just, blocking shots, yes, but also disallowing proper mechanics. She's changing shots down there. Like,
Right.
I'm going to be leaning. I'm trying to get away from her if I'm down there. Yeah, for sure. And then, Sarah Strong for sure. Just a defensive juggernaut in the paint. But they have great guards. KK Arnold's going to sit in the stance and take you to the corner. You're not going to get to the gap that you want. And when you do, Sarah Strong's sitting there. Okay, so they just have this incredible defense, right? But they have the top offense in the country, the top defense in the country. And, it starts, like you said, on the perimeter with their guards. And, AZ Flood as well, just being able to be a stickler on the defensive side, I think has been the difference maker for Connecticut this year. I mean, last year when they won the championship, they were holding teams to 52, just a skosh under 53 points per contest. So they're actually better on the defensive end, right? And I think it's because they have guards that can come in and do a lot of things. So this is really intriguing to me when you look at the numbers, but when you also look at the motion, right? And you look at how they play defense. Like everyone plays defense, but how do you do that in a consistent manner? And I think that's the difference maker in March. And I don't know if you want to continue with the ACC, but we could bounce around to a couple other Power Four conferences if you'd like.
Yeah, let's talk about the elements. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. All right. So for me, I'm headed to the Big Ten tournament. And let me tell you something. The Big Ten, we're talking about, and the ACC teams beating each other down. The Big Ten, I mean, it's been like a proverbial like roller coaster out here with the way teams are beating one another. But who do you feel right now outside of UCLA? Because we know UCLA. Okay, so outside of UCLA, who's bringing like solid momentum coming into the Big Ten tournament that starts in Indy in just a couple days here?
Yeah, I mean, I think Michigan, they faltered a little bit, but I said, I don't know if it was last week or a couple weeks ago, they're due. They're due
Yeah.
to get over the hump in one of these big games. Is it going to be in the Big Ten, or is it going to be, into the NCAA tournament? I want to ask you about Minnesota. I think they're a team that people should that no one's really. I should say no one, but they're a team that teams should be watching out for. And do not count out Maryland. I know they've had injuries,
Yeah.
but Brenda Freeze, man, she somehow figures it out and gets her players to figure it out. So I think Minnesota and Maryland are teams that people shouldn't sleep on. And
Yeah.
of course, everybody knows about Ohio State and all that, but those two teams
Yeah.
to me, I think you should really keep an eye on.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And I think when you're looking at a team like you said, like in Michigan, I mean, they're so young, man. And I think that's the beauty of their game. I had them a couple times, maybe three times this year, or maybe four, but they were so much fun to watch. And I think it's because they're so young. And in speaking with Kim Barnes-Arico at the shoot arounds and everything, she's just saying they're just like, feed me the information. Like, how do I get better? What do I need to do? What do I need? And they're asking those kinds of questions. So it's not like she's directing and saying, hey, do this, do that, do this, do that. And I think she even said in a halftime of a game where she felt, I think they were leading at halftime of one of their games. And she just felt like they weren't on point in terms of being complete. But she said, she went back and watched the game film, Helen, and she said, man, I think they were okay. I don't think I needed to say what I said. Sorry. But they're so much fun to watch. Silas Swords, I mean, we were just talking about Connecticut. I mean, I think she hit 8 threes on her own in that
She is
Connecticut
an
game. And
assassin. She is an assassin. She is one of the best at just shooting it in your face.
yeah,
Your hands all in her space,
I
and
don't
it
care.
does not matter. She's still gonna put it up. She's
Yeah.
still gonna score the ball. She's so good at that.
Yeah, and I think even though she's a sophomore there at Michigan, but I mean, I think that's just a number. I think because of her international experience, I mean, she played in the
Yeah.
Olympics, like she has so much more wisdom and knowledge. I mean, yes, she is matriculating as a sophomore in Ann Arbor, but I mean, that doesn't speak to, her overall experience and her prowess that she brings to the floor and confidence because of who she's played against on the international stage
Right.
and all of that. But I also think this year, Mila Holloway has taken a lot of pressure off of her, right? And not that she had pressure, but I think it relieved a lot of reps in game in terms of her running the one. And have her off the ball frees her to be the lethal scorer that you were talking about. But what do you say about Mila Holloway on the court, another sophomore for Michigan?
I was watching the game, and I think she got into a little bit of foul trouble,
Mhm.
and that threw off their rhythm.
Yeah,
So I think she's so important. I mean, yes, she can score and all that, but I think she is so important to the rhythm, especially on the offensive end.
she is.
That between her and Olsen
Yeah.
and Soares, they need all three of them in there. But that to me is a key to Michigan is her in the game and keeping that team on rhythm. If that makes sense.
No, no doubt, no doubt. I mean, when she decides, and the thing about it, I think she's so smart, right? When she goes to the rack, when she gets a piece of the paint, sprays it out, makes the one more pass. I just think she has such wisdom, and that's why this team has been in the top 10 pretty much all season long, or at least the top 12 all season long. And for me, I love seeing her out there, and I love when players can color outside the lines and just play free, and that's what she does, and she makes the right decisions in an organic manner. And I just, I want to shake her hand for that. But again, she frees Silas Swords up to be the offensive juggernaut that she is from all levels. Like, yeah, she can stroke the three, but she's also going to get to her midi game. She's also going to get to the cup. And her cup game, even contested inside the painted area, she's able to finish. So, I mean, we haven't even talked about Olsen. And man, I'm going to tell you what, I said something to my son the other day about, because we always talk basketball, so it's easy. But I said something about, and I love comparing, but maybe I'm gonna see what you think. Do you think she has any similar characteristics in terms of her skill set to Tamika Catchings?
Um,
Oh, you're hesitating.
no, no, no. That I'm just
Oh,
because
okay.
I think that's a good comparison.
Oh, okay. I thought you were like, oh,
Yeah, no, no, and because I
okay.
hadn't actually thought about it before, but they're
Oh,
the
okay.
games are similar. I mean, certainly the competitive aspect of it,
Oh,
there's
that
no
part.
question there. But I
Yeah.
can see that. I can see that.
Yeah, I just think, I mean, she's so strong, and I think she's gotten even stronger this year with her footwork and just how she gets on balance quickly. And at 6'1", at the perimeter spot, I mean, she could shoot the three, obviously, but she can also get downhill. She can defend. She can score inside. And I think, when she gets mismatches, physical mismatches, she may be as tall as someone, but she's going to out physical a lot of players in her same position, which is positionless, if that's possible. But I do think that she takes advantage of who she's playing against with her strength. And I think Tamika Catchings did a tremendous job of that as a player. But I don't know, when I was watching her, I was like, man, just something about her just reminds me of Catch and her consistency, her hunger, and just the way like her eyes light up when she walks on the court. Like there's just something behind the I always like looking at people's eyes. Like I think it's the window to the soul, I know people say, but there's just something about the excitement in her eyes to be able to get ready to compete again. And I think I compare that to Catch as well. Like how Catch would walk out and she had that walk. Like
Ready to go. Yep.
you're getting ready to get it.
Like here. I'm here. The
You get
champ is
ready
here.
you get ready to get it. But I just see that in her, and I don't know. Maybe well, you said it was pretty similar, but I'd like to hear what people think about that. And I just think that with her also being a sophomore, and like Kim Barnes-Arico said, I mean, her learning curve is so crazy, and she just says all the time, like, "Coach, what do I need to do? Tell me what I need to do to be better. What do I need to work on? What do I need to do before the game? What shots do I take?" And I just love kids like that because they are not entitled, right? They understand that there's still a process once you've earned, some accolades, or you've earned, more minutes on the floor. There's still work that needs to be done. And I think when you have kids who appreciate that, I mean, that's the beauty of it all.
Yeah, there's another kid on that team, kid with the Afro puffs, DeFoss. Did I say that
Oh
correctly?
yeah,
Is that
DeFoss.
is that your name? Okay.
Yeah,
Look
that's
at me
right.
remembering that, not remembering the name of a
You
kid
got
for once.
it. You got
Um,
it.
no, I like her game. It seems to me she's
Yeah.
been shooting a little bit like she's been shooting three pointers more, and I didn't know that was part of her game.
Yeah.
Um, but she's a kid. Glue kid is the wrong term, but they
Mhm.
definitely need her on the floor.
Yeah, I mean, she rebounds well. I mean, she's lanky. Her arms are as long as the day is long. She can get to the rim, and she runs like a gazelle in the open floor. So if they rebound the way that they have as of late, anyway, in a couple games they slipped in that category. But when they do rebound well, they can push tempo, and that's where she's at her best, I think.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
her first three steps, Helen, man, those long legs are like ding, 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 like gazelle, and then she just stretches out. I mean, she's really fluid with her movements, and they're so young. Yet again, I mean, she looks like Bambi out there, and she's so fluid with her motions to the basket. But I love her addition, and she comes in and gives them a punch of energy, which you should do. But I'm really excited about this Michigan team. But
What
again,
about Minnesota?
go ahead. Yeah, that's it. Go ahead, talk to me.
No,
Minnesota.
I haven't seen them play, but I keep hearing
Oh,
when I
yeah.
do have an opportunity to watch a Big Ten broadcast, they're always the analyst is always bringing them up. So I haven't seen them. So I want to know what your thoughts are on them.
First of all, Don Plitzowite has this team playing fearlessly, right? And I think that's a March quality that you also need to have. Like, you're not afraid of anything. And this Minnesota team, I mean, they come and take a full bite out of the apple, and not just a little, let me get the skin off of it. No, they're like, you take a full bite out of that thing. It's like three bites and they're done on the apple. So that's what that team is like. I mean, they are ravenous. They are solid on the defensive end. They play with grit and toughness, but that's what Don Plitzowite's teams have done in the past. Whether she's at South Dakota, now here, it's just or West Virginia, and then now here. Um, I just think that she pours into them. That energy can really calm down a lot of disadvantages that the team may have, right? And maybe size, right? But I think they get in there and they fight for it. And I think in March, I think that could become probably the most dangerous team in the Big Ten. With Minnesota playing that way, we're just going to go for it. We're going to, we're on the zip line. We're not going to sit up there like I did on the field trips with my kids and they're yelling at me, come on down. I'm like, wait a minute. I was sitting up there 15 minutes, Helen, maybe 5. It was maybe 5. But anyway, but they're not afraid. They're just going to just zip down that thing and just go. So for me, I think that Dawn Plitzer-White has them well prepared on the energy front, right? And if you have that, anything you can design anything after that. But it's hard to work the other way around, right? To have, you're trying to coach energy and then you're trying to put them schematically where they need to be. But when you have the energy, now we can move, right? Because you have the foundation and the proper mentality to compete. So, that's why they've been able to make some noise. They've just been foot to the pedal and they have been out there on the defensive end, just scrapping and clawing for all those 50-50 opportunities and turning those into 80-20 opportunities to take it the other way.
Do you think anybody has enough depth and talent to beat UCLA?
You know what? It has been mesmerizing to me to see the difference in how UCLA is playing the game this year. And again, like much like Michigan with Mila Holloway giving some relief to Silas Swords and her playmaking at the 1 and kind of moving her off to the 2, but she can be at the 1 too. She can be at the 1 as well. But when you're looking at UCLA and Kiki Rice moving off the point guard spot this season, I think that has been the biggest difference schematically for the team. And also Corey Close, I had them a couple of weeks ago and I asked her, what's the biggest difference in last year's team and this year's team, and not roster or anything else, but like the style of play, because every year is different. Every iteration of the team is going to be different. Even when you have some of the same people. And she said, last year it was every single time Lauren had to touch the ball. That was our first thing where we're going inside, we're going inside. And even if she didn't score it, we're letting her touch it. Right. And this year she's like, we're not doing that. And it's kind of freed everybody else to be unlocked. Right. And I think, when she said that, I could really see it. I mean, you could kind of feel it a little bit, but the fact that she said that they were trying to go away from doing that every time. And obviously she's still a monster and a player of the year candidate on the collegiate level. But I mean, they've gone away from that being the rule, right? She's out there with you guys. She's not out there, for you to throw it to her and stand and watch her hoop, right? And not that was as drastic as it sounded, but I think that's what she kind of wanted to get away from. What do you think on how they played last year? Did you see them just really going straight to Lauren, and then this year not as much in the same way?
Yeah, I think the one thing that they have to guard about is forgetting about her, right? There'll
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
short periods where I'm like the kid's 6. What is she, 6'6", whatever,
6'7".
like
Sorry.
6'7". Like
Yeah, that whole thing.
how can you forget about her?
Right.
And again, I agree with you in terms of them not passing the ball to her all the time, but I am so happy for Kiki Rice because last year.
Mhm.
I mean, I think she has elevated her. I'm not a GM, but I'm positive she's elevated her draft stock
Yeah.
this year by being off the ball. And you've got Neepkins, you've got Ledger Walker,
Ledger Walker.
and you
Yeah.
get to see how strong and athletic Kiki Rice is.
Yeah.
And I think she's even more confident now when she does run the point than she was last year because she's making so many things happen. She's
Yeah.
confident in her body. She's confident in her decision making, and I'm just really happy for her. But I think that's a big part of their success as well. In addition
Yeah.
to, I mean, Dukelich coming off the bench is just ridiculous. She could be starting somewhere, and so
Yeah.
and again. They don't talk about Jaquez as much as they should.
Need to.
She's like the hidden gem there. So yeah, that's why I asked you because I'm going down the roster and I'm like, I don't know if anybody has, the depth to stay with them. They might have a good, top 5 or 6, but 7,
Right.
8, 9, 10, like I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, their only loss on the season was Texas, and that was back in November around Thanksgiving time. And I go back to and look at that sometimes because I'm like, okay, what did they do to take them out of what they wanted to do? And they got in a little foul trouble. Texas hit shots, obviously, but I think
Right.
they defended well, right? And I don't know if and this is no slight to Texas whatsoever, just a clear observation. I don't know if they have had the depth. Did they? I don't think Texas had the depth, and they
No,
still won. But do you
yeah,
think
I
that
mean,
was why? Do you think their depth was the answer there, or do you
I,
think it was
I
something
think they
else?
just, I think they made shots. I mean, I think they made shots. People got in foul trouble for UCLA, which they cannot do.
Yeah,
And this is again no slight to Texas because they're gonna, if they're not in the Final Four, they'll be close.
they will.
Um, so yeah, they hit shots. They hit a couple threes,
Yeah.
and Roy Harmon played her rear end off.
She
Just a lot of heart there.
rear
So
end.
yeah, I mean every team is different today than they were in November, and you
Yeah,
hope that that's a good thing. Like there's a progression there, and that you figure out a way. I think Corey Close probably going through that process last year as a coach. I'm sure she looked back at some of the things she did or didn't do, and has grown. So that's been better for the team too. And she now
mhm,
knows what that journey looks like getting to the Final Four, so she can make the little tweaks in addition to getting, and some of those tweaks included who she brought
mhm.
in from, transfer portal, but
Yeah,
in her coaching, made some tweaks that I think they'll perform better than they did last year along the journey to, I
yeah.
mean, I'm putting them in the Final Four.
Yeah. No, for sure. For sure. And I don't know what so my my mom gets on the computer sometimes, and sometimes there's this thing, and this is not an ad or anything, this is just something my mom says. But she sometimes if she gets stuck on something on the computer, there's this thing called the Geek Squad or something like that. And she called, yeah, I had to call the Geek Squad to help me through some on the computer. But I'm saying that to say that Corey Close is like calling the Geek Squad. Hey, Corey, what do we do? And she just understands, like you said, how to put the proper roster together, number one, because of all the transfers that they had last
Yeah.
year. And I think that was a big I don't know, I want to say surprise because the climate that we're in NCAA basketball, but I'm always surprised when people leave, especially when they're getting quality minutes and it looks good on the outside, but maybe on the inside didn't feel the same way for whatever reason. So the changes that were made, I was concerned because I was like, wow, that's a lot of firepower. And even off the bench, that's a lot of firepower leaving and
Yeah.
like London Jones and them. So for me, I was like, wow, but it's much like Brenda Freeze, right? Like somehow they're going to say, okay, this is what we have, this is what we're going to do. And again, solution based. But I think she's like, just sitting and talking to her, even outside of basketball, it's like I love listening to Corey Close and how she thinks and what she puts first. And talking to her before the last game, it's just like she's just a savant when it comes to doing things the right way. And I just love that they're finding success. But I know the team in the media day early this season, it was Lauren Betts and Kiki Rice that we had seated, and they said I asked them, I was like, what about last year? Are you going to carry into this year? They're like, well, we're not really thinking about last year, and I was like flabbergasted by that, and not in a mean way, but just, I mean, you have to, even if you lose, like you learn something to carry forward. But I understand putting it past you and it's a new sheet and you're on the next chapter of the program. But that was their first Final Four ever, right? So I think
Yeah, I
for
mean, you don't know till you don't know what you
you
don't
don't know.
know. So
Right,
now they have a visceral understanding of the journey to
right.
postseason, right? And that is,
That's what I was
that
saying.
experience is so important, and that's what I think Michigan is getting right now. This is why I say they're due. I don't know if it will happen this year, but they are
Never know.
young, and they've been in what, three big games where they've
Huge
lost, by
games.
like
Close.
one
Yeah.
possession, and it's,
Mhm.
you look at the one possession, but they're learning that it's not that one possession, it's a couple other possessions earlier where you didn't execute. So they're in real time getting that experience. Well, UCLA's had got all the way to the Final Four last year, so now they have a visceral understanding of the journey, and I think that that's going to pay off for them.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
do too. And that's kind of why I ask it, because I just like to see, like, what did you glean from being out there? Because I know I watched so many Final Fours like growing up and everything. But then when we were actually running out, I get chills just talking about it. When we were actually running out, Helen, I was just like, my eyes were like, hello, man. And I was a junior. It wasn't like I was a baby out there. Like we were upper class, but it was like, oh my God, like this is what Cheryl Miller, felt like running out, man. Like that's what that's exactly what I was thinking. That's what I was
Yeah.
thinking. And it was like, man, I mean, our practices were open to the public, and we weren't doing something right. Coach Weller called us in and was like, if you don't get it together right now, like this.
Oh,
That's my girl, man,
the
Coach
mama
Weller.
talking between the teeth. Yeah, with his mouth shut. Yeah.
Jaw tight right up in here, jaw. You can see it clenched up.
We've
Yeah.
all experienced that.
And we were like, oh, snap, right? And it's packed in there like a game for
Yeah.
practice. And I've sat in many of those too when I started coaching and went to all the Final Four. So I know, I mean, you watch and see like what their habits are. What are they do in practice? Like, how do you learn from what has gotten them there? But anyway, I just think it's intriguing. And I know you have to take something from it. You have to take something from it. And
Yeah.
I know they know that they didn't play their best game against UConn. Credit UConn for steamrolling and getting their 12th natty. But I mean, I don't know. That could be another rematch right there. If that's a rematch, Helen, who you having that?
Oh, you asked me that question.
I gotta
I
put it
I
out there
I
really
don't
good.
know because Connecticut has everything they need.
You do.
Uh, I do think just by what's your word, smidge.
Skosh.
I'm gonna go against Skosh. I'm gonna
Skosh.
go against the grain, and I'm gonna say UCLA just by a skosh because
Okay.
I love their rotations. I
Yeah.
love there's a difference between depth and productive depth, right? Now,
Mhm.
UConn has
Mhm.
productive depth. I'm not saying they don't. Obviously, they're what are they 31-0 right now, and you
Yeah.
can't be that without productive depth. But
Nuts.
I'm just looking at when you got a Dukelich coming off the bench.
Yeah.
I love that. So I mean, just a skosh. Everybody else is probably going to say UConn, but just a skosh because of their productive depth and because of their experience, and I think they've got a chip on their shoulder, and I think they want another chance at UConn. So
Yeah.
you know, I don't know. We'll see. It'll be a great game.
Yeah. No, I
Yeah.
I hope it lines up for that, and we'll see. But I know for the Big Ten anyway, I think, our very own Autumn Johnson, that's my girl, AJ. She is thinking that there could be 12 of the 18
12?
teams.
Oh,
12.
it was 10 last or 11 10 last week. So I haven't looked at the that came out
Yeah.
yesterday, but
Oh, yeah.
that wouldn't surprise me.
But 12 out of the 18, man, that's crazy. Only 14 of the 18 go to the Big Ten tournament. So everything's sized up for the matchups. I mean, Iowa losing Taylor McCabe, but Hannah Stokey missed the last game. So health going in for Iowa could be a bugaboo. Hopefully not. And hopefully Hannah Stokey is all right. As minor, I don't know what the specifics are on that, but she did not play in the last game. Um, but we shall see. But I just think, with momentum, and like you were talking about with Maryland with the injuries, and, they hit that huge speed bump where they lost 4 or 5 games in a row there. And I remember Brenda Free said, we didn't show them the Oregon game. We showed them the Kentucky game from November and said, look around the room. Like, isn't that y'all? Because they weren't playing the same way. So sometimes you don't have to watch, what just happened Tuesday or whatever. She went back to November and grabbed like when they were playing the way she knew they could play. What do you say about that kind of mental coaching, if you will, to kind of put those games down that you lost in a row because you kind of lost them in the same way?
Yeah.
But go back to when you were, kicking butt out there and doing what you needed to do.
I think that's Brenda Free's having good emotional intelligence. I mean,
Uh-huh.
you have to. you have to know your team. And listen, kids know when they don't play well. They
Right.
know when they didn't do what they're supposed to do. The question is, are they going to be accountable or not?
That part.
Right. And so
Mhm.
as a coach, there are certain things you can do to keep them accountable. But at some point, just like you and I have had this discussion before,
Yeah.
it's an inner thing. It's, as far as what kind of person am I going to be? Am I going to try to be the best every day and work towards being the greatest? Or
Right.
am I going to be okay with mediocrity? So,
Right.
um, as a coach, sometimes just like I'm not a parent, but you are, you sometimes catch yourself just harping on the negative,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
the kids
Yeah.
they already know. They
Yeah.
know they played bad. They know they sucked the night before. So sometimes it is good. Hey, listen, I gotta have, some emotional intelligence. I gotta pump my kids up. So I'm gonna
Mhm.
show them when we played really well what we are capable of. And then it's up
Yep.
to them if they're gonna do what I asked them to do. It's my job, for Andrea Carter. It's your responsibility to come up with a system. I love when she said that.
I do
I mean,
too.
you as a coach, you got to figure some things out, but it's
Yeah.
it's up to put them in a position, but then they ultimately have to make a decision to,
Yeah.
to execute.
Yeah, do your job. I mean, that's the bottom line. Go out there, like I always say, like, a car has all these components to it. Somebody's the gas, somebody's the brakes. If it rains, Lord have mercy, those windshield wipers better be on go. So you got to do that. That's your job. Do that. So I think every team, and I think it is up to the coaches to create roles and explain that concisely and very clear
And be consistent with it.
and be consistent with it. And I think, it's easier said than done because I coached for a long time and that was the toughest part, I think, for me, was to get them to stay consistent with what their role was. Like if you're a 38% shooter from three, I need you to fire more threes. But if you're shooting 21%, slow that thing down. Like we don't need you to shoot it. We need the shooters shoot the ball. Anyway, but I digress. I just had a PTSD coaching situation. Oh Lord, that was a lot. Anyway, but it's a real thing. It's like
Yeah.
don't try to be her, be you. Like we need you to do what you do for the team. We don't need you to do what she does. Like she has her thing to do. Anyway, I tried to explain it. It's not easy because you do have competitors. Oh, sorry. You do have competitors out there. Did I lose yet? Oh my
No,
God,
you're
my
good.
phone
You're good.
fell out of the ring light, Lord. Well, there's a blooper for you, BMAC. Anyway, um, but the kids are so competitive, so you don't want to water that down, right? To say, hey, that's not you. Like, that's her.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you
I'll
have
take
to
it
be
away.
you got to be realistic. You know if you're as good as the next person, right? I'll use myself as an example. I was a walk-on at Wake Forest, right?
Mhm, mhm.
And Lisa Stockton, who just got put in the Hall
Oh
of Fame at
yeah,
Wake Forest,
yeah.
was our starting point guard.
Oh
Now
my
I looked
God.
at what she could do, and I looked at what I could do, and I didn't have her skill set.
Okay.
So I'm not gonna, be one of these people that gets mad because I didn't play. I figured out what my role was to try to make her life miserable under practice, so she could get better. And I accepted that, and that wasn't, a negative on me. I was just realistic. I can't shoot as well as she does. So
And that's
if I'm a
okay.
coach, I'm playing Lisa too.
Right.
But that takes a certain amount of maturity,
Yeah.
right? That takes a certain amount of selflessness and a
Yeah.
lack of ego and wanting to do what's best for the whole.
Yes.
That's a
Yes.
skill too. That's a skill for a
That is a
player.
skill. That is a skill. That is a skill. And shout out to Dearica Hamby also for going into the Wake Forest.
Yeah, go Deeks. Hey, my team got in the tournament too, so go. Let me give us a plug.
Look
We
at
barely
them.
made it in there, but we're in there. So I'll be rooting for them tomorrow.
On swim. We love that. They're in there swimming. I love it. I love it. But no, I think it's really it is. And I think that's what March basketball is all about as well, right? Not trying to skew outside of what you can bring to impact the game and the way you impact the game. So I think it's very imperative that, you know, coaches and players, coaches have to drive that home, right? Which I've tried and it's hard. Because you want them to stay competitive and aggressive and all of the things, but you don't want them to kill you with things that they're not as strong in. So I get it. But speaking of strong, I know there are, the Power Four conferences. I know you wanted to talk about a couple other conferences too before we get out of here. I know, what was it, the Big 12? You had some comments you
Yeah,
wanted to make about
it
those
just
guys.
I mean, I've been 10 toes down with West Virginia too, as people still aren't talking about them. But
Enough.
if
Yeah.
Iowa State is healthy, I think they're like number 8 or something like that. They
Mhm.
had that stretch because they had injuries. Don't count them out for the Big 12 final. I mean, I don't know how they're going to do. I haven't looked at the bracket. I don't know who they play.
Mm.
Um, but that's of interest to me. And then the team in the SEC that is of interest to me is Ole Miss
Okay.
because they've had a time of it because of the weather, and they were out for a month, and then they had all those
Um,
games, and they were tired. They've had some time to rest now, so I'm really interested to see how they. I don't know that they'll get to the finals. I don't think they will, but I'll be interested to see how. I think they'll get farther than most people think.
right.
Because they've had injuries, they've had all the, they haven't had any rest. So it'll be interesting to see. Everybody's talking about, and rightfully so, South Carolina, LSU, Texas, Oklahoma. But don't count out Coach O.
I love Coach Yo. Yeah, now she brings it to, and she understands the assignment, right? That's ahead of her and her team. And I think, the SEC, we're talking about the ACC, the Big Ten, Big 12 a little bit there. And then, obviously the SEC, oh my God, like,
Four
I
row
don't know,
every
is
night.
this one of the most, um, I don't know, the most talent that we've seen like across the board in the Power Fours, like with all those Power Four conferences bringing, multiple um, invitees, if you will, to the NCAA tournament. Is this one of the most deep that we've seen in a while, or am I just
No,
excited?
no. I think you're. I mean, certainly 10 to 12 deep that
Okay.
are capable. I think Kentucky can cause
Yeah.
some problems, and like I said, Ole Miss. I think Vanderbilt doing what they've done is Shea Ralph has just done an incredible job. So kudos
Amazing.
to Candace Story Lee for investing in their women's basketball program, and
Yes. Great.
Michaela Blake's improved from last year to this year. So
A bucket.
and then Oklahoma's coming in there like, hey, we're here,
Right.
so yeah, I think it's probably the deepest league of the Power Four. So, them in the Big Ten, they're real close in
Okay.
terms of 10 to 12 deep. So, and
Okay.
that's why it's so difficult, and they get so many teams in because they all
Mhm.
have whatever metric you want to go by, it's high, but they're playing the best competition in the country, like
Yeah.
night in and night out.
Yeah. I mean, it's just been mesmerizing to me, and I've enjoyed it. That's why sometimes I get excitable. I mean, people tell me, but I feel
No,
like
not
I feel
you,
like this.
not you, Christy, not you.
What? But I get so excited because I'm just like, man, there's so many teams that bring it, and then Unrivaled with the sellout in Brooklyn. There's just so much to be excited about, and I love it so much that it just makes me so happy. But then I'm like, am I overdoing it? Like with all of the things that are going great? I don't know. I just kind of skew to glass half full. So sometimes it overflows, but well, all the time it kind of overflows for me when it comes to women's hoops. But I just think it's really fun to see, how many teams can possibly be spoilers. And I know just across the board, with the conferences that we discussed, who do you feel could be some spoilers along the way in Power Four play in the conference tournaments?
Well, I do think, like I said, Iowa State, Minnesota, Michigan, Maryland. Those are my three. SEC,
Mhm.
Ole Miss, Kentucky. When they're healthy and they are
Yeah.
able to execute at the end of games, that's where they've lost like one or two possessions that almost beat South Carolina. Just couldn't get it done.
Yeah.
So those are some teams. In the ACC, do not count out Notre Dame.
Okay.
For what they've been able to do with like I said last at the beginning of the year, I said for Sean Poppy, what he did with what he had was incredible. Well, what
Oh, wow.
Neil Steph did with what they had to get 20 wins,
Yeah.
because I personally didn't think that they would get to 20.
Mhm.
So do not count them out. The minute you say, "Oh, they're not going to win this game," they have a game
Mhm.
like they did against Louisville. So that's coaching.
Yeah.
Because I don't think top to bottom in terms of talent. Now next year, that's a different story. They got a great recruiting class coming in,
Yeah.
and
Some
and
dogs.
Hidalgo's coming back, so the expectations
Yeah.
are going to be high. But
Mhm.
yeah, those are and you say spoilers because off camera I said sleepers, but you're right. The better term is spoilers. So I
Yeah.
cannot wait to
Yeah.
watch these tournaments.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy. And I think also, like in the Big Ten, I mean, with Oregon, I mean, you're talking about 20 wins. Kelly
We didn't
Graves,
even mention, yeah, didn't even
Kelly
mention
Graves,
them.
20 wins for Oregon, right? And it's so funny because we've heard, coach speak, and like at the media days, like, well, we don't have any size. I don't know how we're gonna get it done. And then 20 wins.
Sandbagging.
I'm like, I love Kelly Graves, but he's so funny, he just tries to say, hey, I was gonna sandbag. But then all of a sudden here they are primed to maybe make a spoiler run
You are
in the Big
correct.
Ten tournament too. So I think, with Minnesota, like you said, Michigan, Maryland, but man, I would pepper in Oregon right there as well because Kelly Graves with those 20 dubs, I like that for him. So
Yeah,
you never
and
know.
they regroup for sure from the previous year.
Yeah, and they had some turnover as well with the portal and all of that. So, again, you look at what you have and you make it work. And he's made it work. So it's just fun for me to watch that. But I think you had what did you have? You have one more thing before we bounced out. We were
No, that
gonna
was it. We're
do
good. I
at the
just wanted to
end.
talk about the conference tournaments. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, okay, before we go, I have to give just a tiny shout out to my daughter who just had her senior day the other day, Helen. And I thought I was
Aw.
going to be more of a mess, but I actually held it together pretty well. My face was sore from smiling, but I had tears. But only when I told her, I looked at her when we walked out. I looked at her and I was like, "You're a winner." I told her that she was a winner. And that's going
Aw.
to get me. That's going to get me again. But the tear didn't fall out. It just welled up and spun around in there, but it never fell. So I brought a whole
You
box of
held it
tissues.
together.
I did. I had a whole box of tissues, so I thought I was going to lose it, honey. But I did all right. But she is the Big East tournament starts this week as well as Big Ten and all of that. So Georgetown's headed on up there, but she's going to get 2 degrees. She already has her undergrad degree. She's going to be what they call a double Hoya
That's amazing.
when she gets that. So I just wanted to, that's why I wore my Hoya thing today. And, I have her on the back. Oh, wait. B Mac, come in for a second because I know you got on something too, real quick. And just a little family shout out for my babies. Look at B Mac's got on the Jordan Scott shirt, baby. Let me see it. Look at him. Yeah. Hey. Wait, we're gonna turn around.
Oh,
Turn around, B
you
Mac.
want me to
See.
spin it? All right, I'll
I'm
spin
gonna
it.
try to
Here we
turn
go.
around at the same time. Wait, can you see it? My hair. Wait, can you
Yeah,
see it,
yeah.
Helen? Can
I
you see
see it.
it?
I see it. Listen,
Oh,
that
man.
means your son can take you out to dinner because he got some NIL money from BMAC.
There you go.
Oh, me.
There you
Okay.
go.
Next time I'm going to that Michigan game. So when after the game, he's gonna take me to get some
Pick up the
sushi
check.
somewhere in
Pick up the
Michigan.
check.
Get the tab. I love when he signs the check at the and we don't go that many times, but and he offers, I don't ask. So I'm still like, offering out first, or I take the check and then he'll say, "Oh, I have it." Sometimes, it's just I don't know. It's like
You
reaching
do
up to
know
hug
they're
him when
moving
he's
back,
the
though,
baby
right?
is like
You
crazy.
do
What'd
know
you
they're
say?
moving back. You do know they're moving back after they graduate because it's hard out there to find a job.
I am not mad about that. See, I'm not the ones that I like it. This is a re-nester over here. This is not an empty nester. This is a re-nester. You can come back and re-nest for a little bit, but I think they're fine. But that's what you want. You want to give them roots and wings. And that's what Tom Izzo said. So roots and wings is what it is. And that's how I'm living it. But it's so surreal. But I just wanted to give her a shout out because she had that ACL injury and everything like that, and just kind of chopped her way through. And then my cousin Marquita threw this big dinner for her, my cousins Jennifer and Chris, and and Rachel, all of them threw this big dinner for her after the game, and then we were watching Jordan's game after. So it was like, I don't know, wasn't much better
You
than
raised
that.
them right, Mama. You raised
There,
them right, Mama.
there's about 40 of them there. We had the whole section there at McDonough's. All of us over there had the fat head, and we had a time, honey. And then my mom was there, and my brother and everybody. So it was just very, very sweet. But yeah, I can't believe this is like the end of her career there. B Mac, I can't believe it.
And it's yeah, and she's been through so much and persevered through it all. So that's awesome.
That's the part I'm just doing. Hallelujah. That's what my mom says. Hallelujah to the Lamb of God. That's what my mom says often. Hallelujah to the Lamb of God. But yeah, a moment, a moment, a moment. But it is March Madness, babies, and I cannot wait to continue to dissect it. Helen, you have any parting words and tell people? I know you said you're going to the ACC tournament,
Yeah,
so
I'm going to ACC, do a little research, and hoping to get NCAA, tournament assignment. We'll see.
I
But
know, same. I know. We'll see. I'm kind of in that we'll see seat as well. Passenger princess. That's what you saw me today with my son driving me
yeah,
around. Passenger princess over here. I love it. Oh my God. Well, you have fun at the ACC. I'll be at Big Ten. My daughter will be at Big East. We have all the bigs covered out here in the streets, but it's always a pleasure to chit chat and chop it up with you, my dear. Oh, safe travels to you.
yeah, same for you.
Well, we don't have to go home, but we got to
But
get
you
out
gotta
of
get
here. And I got to get to the salon because that's why I had a hat on. Helen was like, man, you need a hat.
I got
I was like,
you. I got you. I was not gonna let
I
you go
know.
on camera with some
It was
wisps that were out of place, and I was like, no, I
it
can't do
was
that to
not
my daughter.
good.
I was like, go get a hat.
I went up and got my Paris hat because it's Paris in the springtime over here. I went out to get coffee and it was raining and all my curls got dropped, honey. And I had a terrible thing going on up top. So yeah, so I'm headed to the salon. We don't have to go home, but I got to go to the salon. How about that? So thank thank y'all for joining us on the Her Hoop Stats podcast. For my girl, Helen Williams, I'm Christy Winters Scott. BMAC, the producer extraordinaire. We thank you as always, my guy. We will see you next time. I'm Christy Winters Scott. Deuces.